Good afternoon. Our speaker today is Kevin Appnel. Kevin is a native of Reading and a graduate of York College. Kevin resides in West York with his wife Melissa, who's the Director of K-12 Education and Assessment at West York Area School District. Together they have two daughters, Avery, who is 9, and Alexis, who is 6. Kevin volunteers his time to many different schools, performing mock interviews with high school students throughout the year, acting as a volunteer classroom presenter with Junior Achievement, serving as the chair of the Industry and Education Partnership Committee of the YCEA's Workforce Advisory Committee, and is a member of the Business Advisory Board of over 6 different school districts. In his free time, which doesn't sound like he has much of, he can be found spectating and volunteer coaching at one of his daughter's sports. Kevin is also active in the local volleyball community, serving as the director of his men's club volleyball team as well as tournament director. In 2015, Kevin joined the York County Alliance for Learning, otherwise known as YCAL, and he now serves as the executive director. YCAL is a nonprofit that seeks to connect educators and employers to engage students in career education and development. In his role, Kevin oversees and manages a volunteer education committee of 50+ individuals from schools, colleges, and the community, as well as managing all career education and development programs provided to the students and educators of 21 school systems in York County. Earlier this year, YCAL was recognized as a finalist by the Central Penn Business Journal's Nonprofit Innovation Awards in the category of collaborations for their work on the construction pre-apprenticeship program with Kinsley Construction, and they were also recognized as Partner of the Year by the Manufacturers Association for their work in coordinating the Manufacturing Days Tour program and the Manufacturing Pre-Apprenticeship. This past school year, YCAL impacted over 8,400 students, engaged directly with over 250 educators, and partnered with over 180 businesses. This coming school year, YCAL will be celebrating its 30th anniversary and is scheduled to increase its impact and partnerships even further. Kevin is here today to discuss YCAL's history as a career readiness advocate and a promoter of community partnerships while providing an overview of their work in engaging students in career education and development. Please join me in welcoming Kevin.
I think that pretty much covers it. Anyone have any questions? Thank you. That was very, very detailed. Appreciate that. Thank you all. Really appreciate you having me today. Real quick, Becca, you're from Lancaster, correct?
I don't always share that.
Yes. Okay. So I was thinking about this the other day. How I'm from Reading, came to York for college, decided I was going to set up roots here, and Becca's from Lancaster, also doing hopefully. Not to compare myself to Becca, but hopefully doing a lot of good things for the community. And little fun fact before I start here, a little Rotary fun fact. Freshman year of college, excuse me, I reported to York College. I was at Penn Hall, and no lie, you went up the steps to the 2nd floor, 205 Penn Hall, Sean Kenny lived there. 207 Penn Hall, Kevin Schreiber lived there, and 209 Penn Hall, Kevin Appnel lived there. None of us are from the area, but yet here we all are working in the somewhat nonprofit and profit section. So I think it's great. I think it just says a lot for the college and for this community how many of us have, not because of family ties, but just because we really felt adopted by this community, and we call this home after after all these years. Chris, we on Facebook Live? We got that 10-second swear delay like I asked? All right.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. Hey, Chris, let's hit it with a high. All right. Okay, so anyway, I thought that was an interesting thing. So I've gotten to watch, and I think I've been in Rotary for about 3 years. I've gotten to watch quite a few presentations. I've paid attention. I've made some notes, and I've actually borrowed a few things from some of you that I will share as we move on today. So. One of the first things, Gordon Fryer, where are you at? I just saw you, thank you. Last time Gordon was up here, one of the times Gordon was up here, his wife was in the audience, and he did just an awesome move, and he thanked the always inspirational Ellen Fryer for being there today. So good move, Gordon, very wise. Melissa, my wife, thank you for being here today. Appreciate you being here. This is her first Rotary meeting, by the way, and I promised her usually the speakers are better than there is today. But, so hopefully she'll come back and it won't be, she won't view it as being too boring. But just kidding. Also want to thank my work wives for being here. I have my board chair, Lisa Dennis, who's a career counselor at Southwestern High School, and the career coordinator of Redline, Kim Morris, who's on our education committee. So thank you both for being here. Appreciate that. Just forgot I had slides and stuff for you. All right, so that's something I borrowed from Gordon Freiberg. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. This next thing, these are some President Josh approved jokes about jobs. So you know these are going to be good. So anyway, dad jokes. Here we go. I just lost my job as a psychic. I did not see that coming.
That's a Jody Keller joke.
All right. I tried working in a muffler factory, but that was exhausting. Blame Josh. I don't grow at me. I found being an electrician interesting, but the work was just shocking. All right. I didn't say I should have borrowed everything. I just said I did. So I apologize. Jack Kay was up here updating us a couple times on the Yorktown Project. Something he did that I liked. He gave you the answer to a few questions and said, we'll answer these. Well, I'll give you the answers and we'll get to the questions throughout the presentation. So, the answers are September 1989, the Wolf Organization and False Graph, 21 school systems, both, and they aren't. I'll get to the questions at some point. Don't worry. So you have to pay attention now. Let's see. Okay, Ann Druck just spoke. What was that? Was that last week? 2 weeks ago? Who spoke last week? Oh, I remember. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to work the word loquacious into my speech. I didn't do that. Oh well. Just count that right there. All right. So Ann Druck did a show of hands. I really like that, so I'm going to steal it today. Ann, are you here today? Oh, I guess the speaker was too boring. She decided. No, I'm just kidding. All right. How many in the room? Show of hands. I got 5 questions for you. How many think education is important? Okay, good. All right, that's perfect. Well done. That's what I was hoping. How many think people working and contributing to society is important? Yeah, people paying tax and contributing, that's good. We want that. All right, so how many business owners or managers in the room, how many of you like having talented and motivated individuals to hire? I would hope so. Okay, now here's a question. Some of you might have to think back a little bit further than others, but how many of you knew what you wanted to be when you grew up at the time you were entering high school? Right, so a couple people had some career direction by then. Okay, well how many of you knew what you wanted to be at the time you graduated from high school? Yeah, I didn't raise my hand for 4 and 5. I actually forgot to raise my hand for the first 3. I don't listen to directions too well, even my own. So, a lot of us can agree on a lot of those things, and for 4 and 5 there's a very small group of people that knew what they wanted to be, even at the age of 14 or maybe even at the age of 18 or 19. Maybe some of us are in our 30s trying to figure out what we want to do, but not me, of course. My bosses are there, so I should be careful with that one. One of the things that's nice about this job, when I get to meet with elected officials, it's kind of nice because, and I know this is going to be hard to believe, but both sides of the aisle tend to agree on what we're trying to do. They do agree that education needs to be improved. The way we're going to do it might differ a little bit. Most of them don't ever say we don't want students to have real-world experiences and we don't want them to look at different careers, so we're in agreement on that one. And also, I never hear that they don't care about people getting careers. You know, so we can, believe it or not, that's one issue we can all come together on. So it's kind of nice walk into one of those meetings. I know that for the most part, I'm going to be in full agreement with the person I'm speaking with that day. So I'm going to give just a very quick overview of what YCAL does, and then we'll come back to it a little bit later and get into a little more detail on how we actually do it. So the basic of what we do, what YCAL is, it's an intermediary organization. We connect educators and we connect employers. So education industry, those are the 2 things we connect. How we do that's a little more complicated, and we'll get into that. But I did want to talk about the history. But before I do, just wanted to point out, we recently had this sort of logo developed to the right, and it really does, in my opinion, a good job of showing how everything's connected and how it's dependent on each other. The students are being propped up by the educators. Educators work with employers, but then it also connects in a way the employers to the students as well. So it's all interconnected. All three of those groups need to be working together. I thought that was a pretty accurate depiction there. So where did we start? Because we're coming up on a 30th anniversary. So in 1989, an organization called the York County Business and Education Partnership was incorporated. The two main drivers of that at the time, Tom Wolfe and William Simpson. So Pfaltzgraff and Wolfe organizations were really pushing for this. And the mission of that organization when it was developed was to increase support for and improve the quality of education within York County, PA and certain adjacent areas. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? But the idea of making the connections and improving education is there. So that has always been consistent over the years. Going forward a little bit, hey, there's a familiar face. Where are you at, Mr. Bachman? Dr. Bachman, sorry. There it is. Looks familiar. So there was also the first Capital Compact School to Work organization. And I know Dr. Bachman and Lauren Crow are very involved with that. And their mission to help ensure that all students of York County will experience relevant, demanding, and continuously improving education. So we now have a couple different organizations, all with very similar missions. So what's the natural thing we do because we work really well together in York County? Merge them. Made sense. So somewhere right around the 1999 to 2000 school year, a merger took place. All three of those organizations merged to form the York County Alliance for Learning, and there's a couple of our logos over the years. Now, quick question, because I'll sometimes call some people that have been around York longer than me, and I say, I need a history lesson. Can you tell me this? So I discovered some names that I was very familiar with that I had no clue many years ago were involved with YCAL or some of these other organizations. So if you could raise your hand, if you ever sat on the board of or was an executive director or anything of any of those organizations, could you just raise your hand just for a moment? Let's see who it is. There's two over there, one there. Jackie, did you raise your hand? Weren't you on them?
Was I on the?
I thought you were. I don't know. Your name was on something. Anyway, I appreciate you anyway. Thank you. So a few people there that I didn't even realize in my time here at Rotary that were at one point involved in YCAL or one of the organizations that led into YCAL. So years later, we kind of fast forward into the future, 2019, well, what are we now? Well, still a nonprofit, that hasn't changed. We're still an approved educational improvement organization, so we are still working to improve education. We are still an intermediary organization. We're still trying to make those connections and trying to drive that. We're trying to be a resource for educators. We're not trying to replace anything that the schools are doing, but we're trying to add to that. We're trying to enhance some of the programs that they offer, some of the counseling services that they offer on the career side, and we're really trying to prop that up and help wherever we can and serve as a resource. And what we're ultimately trying to do, and what this means for most people in the room, if we can enhance career education, enhance career development, that all leads to workforce development. So if we've kind of taken care of things on the school, well, I should say on the educator and the student side, the employer side feeds right into itself naturally. So just to kind of break that down a little bit further, who does YCAL serve? And we did a strategic planning session about 2 years ago now, and if you had to pick one of those three that's our primary customer, who's our primary person we're trying to please, believe it or not, it's not the students. We thought it was, but most of the students that are going to take part in our programs, they are being referred to at a rate of about 80% are being referred by the schools. So by the counselors, by the teachers. So if our programs aren't speaking to the educators and they're not getting excited about it and they're not thinking that it's interesting, they're probably not even going to tell the students about it, and then we'll never get to the students. It's a little hard to engage students directly when we're not at the schools on a constant basis. Social media has certainly helped a little bit, but for the most part, we're connecting more with their parents on social media than with them. I think someone told me the other day, kids don't have Facebook anymore. So I'm apparently getting on in age with that. So that was sort of, we kind of came up with this sort of a statement, an aspirational statement of YCAL's aspirations to be the go-to resource for educators who help students make meaningful career decisions. That's really what we're trying to do. If we appeal to the educators, then we can get access to the students. And we've seen that. We've seen in the schools the highly engaged counselors who are super excited, and we see their participation rates spike, and yes, 2 of them are here with Redline and Southwestern. They've dedicated a person who, instead of just having a guidance counselor who's also doing career counseling, they actually have a dedicated person who does career counseling on a full-time basis. So that's very important, and I see a lot more schools moving that direction. If their boards allow them to, that's the direction they're moving. So that's sort of the high-end view of who YCAL is trying to serve. Another answer to one of your trivia questions here, one of the answers I'd already given you. We serve 21 school systems. So that's the public schools in York County. In addition, we have some of the affiliates like Lincoln LIU 12, Lincoln Intermediate Unit 12, York County School of Technology, and also some of the private schools, Christian School of York, Dr. Hines, right? Congrats. York Adams Academy, York Catholic, York Country Day School, and I'd already mentioned York County School of Technology. In case you're wondering, I'm just going to explain this. That's Northern School District. They actually report to a different intermediate unit, and they receive some of the services through their intermediate unit up in the capital region. So we've spoken with them, but it's a little bit easier for them. Did anyone else know that West Shore is in York County? Their superintendent says people tend to forget that most of their district is in York County. They have 1 high school in York County and 1 in, I believe, Cumberland. But we service both of them. So that was the certain adjacent areas that was mentioned by Governor Wolfwood. That's a certain adjacent area. So yeah, so those are the schools that we service. I broke it. Just kidding. So I'd like to give just a brief overview. How do we do this? Okay, that's great. We have this mission statement, we have this goal, we have these aspirational statements. How does it actually work? Is it all talk, or do you actually have some things that you do? Well, we do stuff. Don't worry. So we have. I'm just going to give an overview of some educator programs, some of the student programs, and then just how we engage with the community in various ways. And these pictures down below, it's a student from York Suburban. There's one of their counselors, and that was actually, he'd completed one of our programs at Kinsley, and that was sort of his signing day, because we did sort of a signing day with the students where after their pre-apprenticeship was finished, they had actually committed to starting the apprenticeship right after graduation at Kinsley. So we feel, hey, it works for athletes, it should work for people committing to their careers and contributing to the local economy and to a local company. So Dr. Williams is one of your own right up there. So just a quick note on some of these educator programs that we do. One of the things we have is the Career Education Work Standard Symposium. We just call it the symposium because that's quite a mouthful. But what we do once a year, we host that at York County School of Technology. We get as many teachers as we can in there. We normally are right around the 200 level. K through 12, they come, we feed them lunch, or well, dinner, early dinner. And then they get to sit through a couple sample lesson presentations. How do you work different career standards? How do you work things regarding entrepreneurship or career acquisition? How do you talk about that to your students if you're an English teacher? There's a lot of different ways you can do that. So we identify some people at every grade level. They get to sit through 4 presentations at their grade level, and they hopefully leave that day with a couple extra tools in their toolkit on different ways they can engage students in this type of subject. Innovation Grants is a great program we have that allows us to, essentially we give some money to a certain teacher or classroom. They have to do a project that really drives a partnership with another business and drives career education. So that's a way that we can, since we can't get to every school and reach every student, we allow students to apply for these programs, or I'm sorry, we allow teachers to apply for these programs, and hopefully they can deliver that to the students. That really helps our impact to reach a lot more students. Sort of more on the business side, we do have these collaboration meetings. Oh, by the way, there's Jim Anderson, everyone, the bottom picture. What a coincidence. All these photos have Rotary people in it. How did that happen? I did it on purpose. So we have these collaboration meetings where occasionally when we're made aware of a subject, some sort of topic, or maybe even some sort of a headache that the schools or business has, we will try to collaborate getting everyone in that same room. How do we get through this problem together? We had one of the meetings we talked about last year, we talked about credentialing. When you're hiring students, what credentials are you looking for? What skills are you looking for? What are they coming to you that they don't have? And it was a great day where we had some small roundtable discussions. We mixed them up with some school personnel and some businesses, and they had a great conversation. It really told us a lot about what each group is looking for and how they can help. So I know a lot of good relationships were established that day. One of the other programs we talk about is Educator in the Workplace. That's a program we've actually expanded this year. It used to just be a summer program. It's now going to be offered during the school year as well. Pretty much what it comes down to is a brief class session, and then we send a teacher out to a workplace for 2 days. Obviously the workplace, they signed on for that. They know we don't just drop them off the doorstep and drive away. But it's to get them involved with the work community, to understand what's happening, to increase their relevance, and just make sure that they're not just always in their classrooms, that they understand some of the things that are going on in business. So that's a program that we're looking forward to expanding, and we partnered with the LIU to really push that out to even other counties, not just York County. So that's a lot of the educational resources that we have. I did want to mention, of course, these are the student programs. These are the ones that allow us to actually have a direct impact on students. Coming up October 1st to October 11th, there's a National Manufacturing Day. Well, we actually spread, because we're York and we do manufacturing really well, we're actually doing that from the 1st to the 11th. We're not just going to celebrate it for one day. So what I was doing over the summer, I was identifying manufacturing facilities that were willing to do so, compiled a whole list of them, and I've now sent that off to the high schools, and the high schools are going to be signing up to take tours just to really promote what's being done here in York and some of the cool things that are being made, and to promote some of the jobs and other opportunities in manufacturing. So we'll be doing that October 1st to 11th. We also have, and this one's relatively new, and it's really expanded over the last couple of years. We've added one a year, but we have the pre-apprenticeship programs. Now those are mostly, as of right now, they're mostly the skilled trades, construction, which Kinsley hosts. We have the electrician program, which is the York Electrical Institute, which is actually that's run through the IBEW, through the union. We also have the manufacturing technician, which is run through the Manufacturers Association. The whole premise of a pre-apprenticeship is it's still an exploration process. Students are still trying to figure out, is this something I want to do when I leave high school? What it does for the employers, and why we've been able to get some good support from our hosts. When a student goes through a pre-apprenticeship program, their chances of remaining in the program when they move on to being an apprentice is substantially higher, like to the tune of like 80 to 90% completion rate. Because by then they've had a little preview of it and they know what they're getting into. It's not going to be a situation where Kinsley brings on a student and 3 months later they've gone through all that training for him or her, and at the end of 3 months they say, oh no, I have to work outside when it's hot or when it's rainy, I didn't realize that. Well, we've had a good chance to explain that to him for several months leading up to that point. So those programs, and they're really starting to pick up. I feel like 3 years ago when we said pre-apprenticeship, people didn't know even what that meant, and now they're popping up everywhere. And to be completely honest, that's what's really helped is some of the funding that's come through the state, through Governor Wolf's administration, has really allowed some people to take the jump, knowing that there was some financial assistance to start one of these programs. So those are the three that we're offering this coming year, and we'll probably be adding one a year for the foreseeable future. Who knows? We'll see me in 20 years, we'll probably have 20 of them. And then two other programs. We have our crew event at Hack York. The crew event is for a whole group of students. It could be freshmen who are just kind of starting to explore different careers. It could be the senior who it's March of their senior year and they don't have a plan yet, and Lisa or Kim will probably sit them down and say, listen, in 3 months you're out of here and you don't have anything scheduled. Go to this, because what we do is we allow them to check out 3 different careers. We have 16 different presenters representing all the different career clusters. And they get to pick 3 of those and find out what that career is about and ask that presenter, that industry expert, questions. We then move them to another building in Hack, because by the way, we take over the whole campus for the day. We always have to do it when they're on break, because we could never do it while there's students in session. But we then move them over to another building, and we have a post-secondary expo. They can talk to colleges, they can talk to training institutions, apprenticeships, places that we've identified to be very good direct hire, so direct from school to work. They graduate high school, they can start there. It's a good wage, and there's room for advancement. So we kind of limit who can come to that, but it's a good opportunity for the students to brush up on their networking skills and make some connections that will hopefully spark their interest for the future. In addition, we always have a topic where we'll have a professional, almost like a professionalism course that's taught. 2 years ago we had Tom Scholes, who's the HR director from UTS. he has he hires from entry level to executive level. So he has a lot of great stories about what people have done during interviews, good, bad, and ugly. And he just laid it all out there and did not hold back with any filter to the students. So hopefully they all left there with some good ideas on what to do and what not to do during an interview. And then we had Ryan McShane from HR Evolution last year, and he spoke to the students about managing their personal brand, their social media accounts, how they present themselves, how they manage their own worth. So it's good, just good discussions to have with some of these students. And the last one, which is actually probably the bulk of my time in the office, is spent on working these career exploration programs. Some are day programs that last at just one single school day, like a 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. kind of deal, and some are a series of programs where the student's going to meet, they're committing to meeting a couple times each semester. And just so here on the bottom, here's our that's our pre-apprenticeship construction group from this past year. Yes, it's all males. We do have a female sign up this year, and I'm super excited for that. We have, this was a respiratory care program. Students are doing mock blood draws there on a fake arm. And then there's JT Hand. That was the Water and Environmental Technology program. That was co-hosted through York Water Company and Thaddeus Stevens. So that's a job where sometimes we're out seeking hosts for certain programs because we know that there's a need. Other times they're coming to us and saying there's a need. There's a case where Thaddeus Stevens is saying, here's this program, this Water and Environmental Technology program. We offer it, it's not full, and we have a 100% placement rate, and here's the starting salary. And I was like, geez, they're starting at really good wages, and not enough kids are getting into it. Not enough students are getting into it. I called them kids once, sorry. I'm not supposed to do that. So we rely on our partners to sometimes come to us and say, hey, are you aware that this is happening? Because maybe it's a very specific group that we want to make sure we're not forgetting about. So when we say we partner with a lot of businesses, these are just the companies we partner with for the career exploration programs. They're the ones that have been willing to allow us to have students come there. We handle the whole sign-up process and the roster, but they handle the curriculum. What are they going to talk about that day? What are they going to discuss? What will be presented? What are their hands-on activities going to be? And really, at the end of the day, what I've always told students when I got a chance to speak with them before the program, I said, the only way this day fails is if you haven't shown up, and you're all here, so that's good. If you leave here today and say, RKL hosts an accounting program, and I said, if you leave here today and you say, you know what, I don't think I want to be an accountant, this isn't for me, I said, that's great. Like, Doug doesn't want you here if you hate your job. Like, he probably does not want you at RKL. Working there and being miserable every day. So I said, don't be afraid to say that hey, I collected some information today and I don't think I want to be an accountant. That's great. Go do something else. That's wonderful. Or it might just solidify and say, yes, I'm on the right track. This is for me and I'm going in the right direction. That's great too. So that's really what these programs are intended to do. Hopefully to steer them one direction or another, just a little bit closer to making a decision. Here's another answer coming up for you from the answers I've given you before. Does YCAL support four-year college or school to work? Both. Yep, I heard it. Is that you? What are you cheating? No, okay, good. All right. So at least I know you know that. All right, so both, yeah. Another thing that I'm asked very often, and this happens more so when I'm talking to someone from a trades employer, we'll just say, is are schools pushing the college for all mentality? And I can absolutely say with confidence, no. I have not, they aren't. I have not heard that recently. I'm sure 10, 15 years ago that was the mentality. More often than not, if there is someone who is telling a student, you have to go to four-year college, plan A has to be four-year college, that's typically coming from the parents. The schools, I believe, have a very good understanding that college is not for everyone. It can be if that's what you want to do. If you want to be an accountant, then yes, college is for you. If you don't want to, if you don't want to do that, you want to go right into work, then you should be certainly free to do that. So we don't really have a preference in terms of what students do. We just want them to do something that's going to allow them to be a contributing member of society and is going to make them happy in the long run. Of course, we are steering that a bit because there are certain industries that need a little more attention than others. So of course, we're going to be doing what we can to move the meter, so to speak, when we know that something has or will be having a labor shortage in the near future. And that's why with some of these trades pre-apprenticeships, construction, manufacturing, electrician, these are jobs that are not going away. Some are going to be lost to automation, but more jobs will be lost because someone retired. So in other words, there's going to be job openings, and there's not going to be people to fill them. So we need to be engaging. I think a lot of companies are understanding this now, that we need to be engaging with those in our emerging workforce to be able to get them on board to hopefully move them into some of these positions. And I've heard some great things that are just absolutely bananas to me, where, look, we'll hire them at 18, we'll let them work 20 hours a week while they go to college part-time, and we'll pay for their college. Like, that's how bad some of these places know we need people, and we need people who we can ramp up and will have many years of experience with us. They know that. So we're just trying to make sure people are aware of that if that's a good option for them, they need to move that direction. There was that was a construction program we did, and that was the law exploration program. So it ended with a mock trial in front of a real judge. Walt Tilley's in there too, but skip over that. Don't hold that against me. Just kidding. All right, so how does this help? Like, how does this help the whole community, or how does this help these individual groups? Well, for educators, like we said, we're trying to provide them those resources. So when they're delivering career education, they're talking about the work standards, and they're looking for partnership opportunities, we can be their source to have all those things, in addition to what's already being done at their schools. Because again, they're doing a lot outside of what we're doing, and that needs to be happening. We're just trying to enhance what they already do. From the student standpoint, we're trying to provide that opportunity, explore those careers, develop their skills, and enhance what their professionalism skills are. And then for the employer side, I think this would be most interesting to most of you in this room. We're trying to provide that pipeline so you can identify the talent that's out there, invest in them now, and hopefully develop them so we don't run into a major labor shortage in the near future. So, wrapping up, thank you. This is what we did last year. There's 2 copies of the annual report. If you ever want to look at it, take it with you, feel free. I have a couple extra if you would like to see that. But that's just a screenshot from the annual report. And that was already mentioned in the intro, so skip that. Perfect. Any questions? That was supposed to be green. You cannot see my contact information, and I apologize for that. I have business cards over here at the table, so that was the only issue we had with the PowerPoint. All right, that was pretty good. We almost made it. Almost made it through all those slides. Are there any questions from the audience, other than Dan McGarry? In the back, yeah. Luke. Yeah, Luke.
Yeah, do we have any data on the number of Black and Latino students that have taken advantage of this?
I do not. We don't collect data on ethnicity when we ask for application. We're mostly just getting like biographical, like contact type information, emergency contact. We've not gotten to the point where we're asking them to select their ethnicity.
Assuming that you are partnering with York City Schools?
Yes. As far as I know, yes.
Well, have you seen Black and Latino students come through the program?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. From all districts, but yes. And that's something, certainly if that was, we just didn't have a mechanism that we were planning on using that data for. I mean, that's certainly something that can be added to the application. I would have no issue with that. If there was an organization that asked me to add that so if you're asking, I can add that. That's literally, I can do that from my phone here in 30 seconds if you need me to.
I think it would be great to keep those numbers. I think it's extremely important that we engage the number of Black and Latino students that take advantage of it. And if we're not, if there aren't that many, then organizations such as mine can assist you in reaching out to those students.
Well, I'll tell you one of the struggles. I'd love to talk to you about this afterwards. Is transportation tends to be a hurdle because with servicing 21 different schools, we can't provide the transportation. So the students or the schools have to transport the students to some of these programs, and I have noticed that is an issue with some of the districts and some of the students where they just didn't have a reliable ride. So that's something I'd love to find a solution to. So that is not a hurdle for these students getting connected with a career and hopefully brightening up their future a little bit and getting connected to some of these careers. So I'll talk to you afterwards. Yes, right here.
Do you require, or is there a requirement for any youth protection clearances for going into these employers? Does the employer have to have so many staff members approved or cleared before the students can come in?
The hosts running the programs do not have to have their clearances, and the reason is there is always a what we call a YCAL ambassador, so it's always someone from the schools or myself, someone who has all their active clearances, and treated very much like a field trip, that as long as that person is present throughout the duration of the program, we don't need to require we try to remove every roadblock that we can to allow businesses to engage with us as easily as possible. That's why we handle the whole application process, we handle the roster, we literally just tell the host, here, you come up with a curriculum, here's the students, here's the number of students you should expect, here's the roster, here's the schools that come from, and they can just roll with it. So we try to handle all the logistical stuff for them, and don't require the background checks, just to make sure that we're not creating any unnecessary barriers. One more question. Make it a good one. Oh, no more questions. Cool. Well, I'll be here afterwards if anyone needs to ask a question in private. And thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.